You gave up a TV job to start a podcast in your basement. If that doesn't scream midlife crisis, I don't know what does.
It was Championship Sunday here in Indianapolis. What's the mindset then coming in as a defending champion?
I want to win. No, I want to win.
The young lady over my shoulder, Caitlin Clark.
Not the best looking guy. And I don't think anyone's going to sit here and say, Matt Randazzo was really good looking.
What has this last month, 2 months, 3 months been like for you? It's an important fan base for the Fighting Illini, is it not?
It is.
He turned 69 years young last week. You look good, Coach.
Oh, try it. Thank you.
Welcome to Off Day with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities, Tuesday, August 18th. Thank you guys for joining us wherever you are, however you are taking part of the program. We definitely do appreciate it. It is a Tuesday. It is Tuesday of football week, or football game week in Illinois, with high school football starting this Friday. So a ton to get to with high school football, college football, a ton to get to on today's show. So I want to thank you if you're watching on YouTube. If you're watching live, we appreciate that. Thank you for doing that. Make sure you're subscribing. If you have subscribed, thank you. If you have not subscribed, please do so ASAP, and then tell all your friends about what we're doing each and every weekday here at 10 a.m. We're also live on X. X has been very, very good to us as well. So make sure if you're watching on there, we appreciate that. And do know that be interactive, whether it's the YouTube channel, on X, on Instagram as well. Be interactive with the show. We love the feedback, the complaints, a compliment or two here and there. So be interactive with the show. We definitely appreciate it. The YouTube chat is going as we speak. Our everydayers are already chatting away, and hop in, ask some questions. Some great guests coming up over the next couple hours here on August 18th, a Tuesday morning, right here in the Quad Cities. We're also streaming live on the WHO Plus app. Our viewers in Central Iowa have been fantastic. Nearing a year. I'm going to go look and figure out when we started with WHO in Des Moines, but it's almost a year, and it's been a bunch of fun. So we thank you guys for watching each each and every day as well. And of course, you can check out the show each and every day on the podcasting platforms. Wherever you get your podcasts, put it off the air with Matt Randazzo, whether it's iHeart, Podbean, Apple, Spotify, wherever you get your podcasts, put it off the air with Matt Randazzo. Listen to the show each and every day as well. As I mentioned, a lot to get to on today's show. Coming up in a matter of moments, we'll be joined by the one and only Scott Dochterman, one of the best on the beat. I know he's super modest, and I get that, but Doc is as good as it gets. Obviously, when it comes to Iowa football, but Big Ten football in general, college football in general, one of the best in the business. So really, really excited that he's going to take some time to chat with us. I don't know if you guys had heard, but it was an eventful Saturday at Kinnick Stadium. Some things happened. Some quarterbacks played well. A quarterback played well. One didn't play so well. So we're going to get his insights, his thoughts on Kids Day at Kinnick Stadium. Recently, he's spent an entire day down in Champaign at Memorial Stadium with Illinois football. And I don't know if there's too many more people in college football more bullish on Illinois athletics and Illinois football than Doc. We're going to talk to him about the Illini coming up a little bit as well. So a lot to get to with Scott Dochterman in just a matter of moments. As I mentioned, it is game week for high school football players in Illinois. Week 1 is coming up this Friday. We're hoping to do our show. I got to check a few boxes, but we're hoping to do our show once again. We're going to be on the road every Friday at a different high school stadium. This Friday, we're looking at Assumption High School. I know it's week 0 in Iowa, not a ton of games on the slate, but when it's Assumption and Geneseo, that's about as good as it gets. So that's the hopes. But on today's show, we're going to catch up with 2 more coaches from the Illinois side of the river as we continue our OTA previews. We're going to go down to Galesburg. Shawn Hickey gets ready for year number 3. He's done a really good job. The Streaks were really young last year. I think they got some really good experience. Excited to see what they can do this year. So Shawn Hickey coming up later on in hour number 1. And then the expectations, especially from our own Brian Stocking at his alma mater, Riverdale, or Sky High. Guy Dierikx will join us in hour number 2. So a ton to get to on today's show. If you missed yesterday's show, Tyler Tachman had some great insight from Kids Day as well. We previewed Monmouth Roseville with Jeremy Adolphson, almost said Hecklinski, Jeremy Adolphson down at Monmouth Roseville. So a full show yesterday. If you missed that, go check it out as well. Before we get to the actual guests, boy, what a night in sports last night. What a night for baseball in the city of Chicago. The Cubs knock off the Sox. Final score 7-5 in 10 innings, getting a leadoff homer from Pete Crow Armstrong, PCA, and then getting a walk-off homer. And this is video from our good friend Larry Howley. Larry was in the bleachers last night and got this great angle, I think an awesome angle, of the walk-off 2-run homer for the Cubs and PCA. So he leads the game off with a home run. He finishes the game with a home run as well. And boy, the MVP race and talk continues. And I was thinking about it this morning, and if you're Major League Baseball, you've got to embrace the heck out of this. You have Pete Crow Armstrong, a charismatic, young, energetic player playing fantastic baseball in the Northside of Chicago. And then you have Ohtani out in LA, and he hit 2 home runs last night. So he's playing great, and obviously the pitching aspect of that, and it's a good debate. I do think that Pete Crow Armstrong is the MVP in the National League. And obviously he's got to finish things off. It's middle of August right now, and he's got 5-6 more weeks to go, but he's your MVP. And I'm not saying that because I'm a Cub fan or anything of that like. And when you look at it too, if you're arguing MVPs, don't try to bash the other. Don't say like PCA doesn't deserve it for this reason. Maybe just talk about why the other one does, because it's a really, really good race, and it's what's good about baseball right now. And I'll be honest, baseball needs some energy. They need people talking about it, not just in October when it's the postseason and the World Series. It's a long season of Major League Baseball, and you have 2 stars that are doing something remarkable every single night, it seems like. Baseball has to capitalize on this. They have to promote the heck out of this. They need to be running with this MVP race, because Pete Crow Armstrong and Shohei Ohtani really, really, really good baseball players, obviously. Great baseball players, bringing energy to a game that needs it right now for sure as well. So Cubs, Sox continue their series. Cubs win that one. They're 4.5 back of the Brewers in the NL Central. They're looking really good when it comes to a playoff spot, obviously, in the wild card, but still a chance to catch those Brewers. And the White Sox, one of the good stories in baseball this year. And just grindy and gritty and they just find ways to stay in games, win games. Almost did that last night against the Cubs. So that series continues on the north side of Chicago, I believe tonight. I'll check a time on that, but I believe they play tonight. Before we get to Doc, let's look at the first AP Top 25 of the season. It came out yesterday. Just like with the coaches poll, it does have Iowa sitting at number 22 in the poll. So Iowa 22 for the coaches, 22 for the AP poll. That's kind of where people have them slated. If you look at it, we talked about it when the coaches poll came out. The big stretch for Iowa is Michigan at number 16. Obviously Ohio State at home at number 1, and then they go to number 17, Washington. So they go 3 straight weeks on the road at 16, home against 1, on the road at 17. We've talked about that 3-game stretch so much for the Iowa football program. And it just kind of magnifies it when the polls come out and you see that trio of games. And again, it's not just 3 games on the schedule they got to go play. They play them back to back to back. The last one of those is a Friday night affair out west where Iowa never does well or never plays well. I think there's too much put into that, but it's by the numbers, it's true. So yeah, when you look at the AP Top 25, that magnifies that 3-game stretch. But Iowa, number 22 when it comes to the AP Top 25 and the coaches Top 25 as well. So obviously all eyes were in Iowa City on Saturday and Friday. Friday we had our show in Iowa City, OTA at Iowa Football Media Day. If you missed that from Friday, interviews from you name it, I think we had them. Seth Wallace, Nolan DeLong, Yossi Epinesa, both quarterbacks at the same time, Kirk Ferentz, the list goes on and on. Addison Ostrenga came over and joined us. We love that as well. So if you missed that show, go check it out. But big day on Friday, bigger morning on Saturday, where Kids Day took center stage. One of the guys at Kids Day to see everything up close was one of the best in the business. So joining us now to talk Big Ten football, Iowa football, Illinois football, college football in general, the best in the business, in my humble opinion. I know he's humble and modest, but Scott Dochterman from the Athletics joins us right now from outside the Dochterman estate, if you will. It's a beautiful day finally.
Finally, man. I mean, it's been so humid and hot, and we're going to Field of Dreams and it's humid, and that finally cooled off. And then this weekend when we were at Iowa Football Media Day, it's like, oh, this is just oppressing. And so, yeah, on Monday afternoon, it was beautiful. I rode outside. Tuesday morning, here I am. It's gorgeous. So I'm going to take advantage of it while we can, because who knows, the rain may come and I'll screw up and not mow my yard.
I love it. I love it. Hey, I want to do a lot of football to talk about, but you mentioned Field of Dreams, and you're the college football writer, and that's your thing right now. But you've covered everything. We know that. What was that like as a baseball purist, as a baseball fan, to go up to? Do you love the Field of Dreams and what they're doing with it? I've had people tell me they don't like the fact that it's not the simple Field of Dreams. What was your experience last week up in Dyersville? Thank you. Jeez.
Yeah, I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's a really cool place. I'm used to it now that they have the permanent stadium as a part of it, and I think it's good for Iowa for sure. It's good for baseball, because baseball can be very monotonous in the middle of August, the dog days of summer, as we always used to say, and I think this gives it a little bit of a boost and a spark. And then you talk to the players, and it's not, they say all the right things, but you can tell that they have a little bit change in their demeanor, that they enjoy going to the movie site. And almost all of them, Bryce Harper, Kyle Schwarber, or whoever, they're all like, yeah, it would have been nice to be able to be here an extra day, just to soak in the atmosphere and everything. But, and just to see, I saw so many Phillies fans. I thought that I'd see a lot more Twins or local fans, but no, it was mostly Phillies fans. And they were excited to be there. And I think that's really important, because, baseball is kind of struggling in my eyes. I mean, you got football is just so dwarfed anything in this in sports, in the sports landscape, and in our area locally, the WNBA is probably as popular as Major League Baseball is. I mean, the Cubs are having a great year, the Sox are having a great year, but I think more people still talk about the Fever than they do than the Cubs. But I think moments like this really stand out. And now there will be nothing that compares to the first one. The original Field of Dreams between the Sox and the Yankees, that was the most dynamic sporting event I've ever been to in all my years of covering. Yeah. But I think now with this one, next year the Red Sox and the Royals are coming. I think it's something that if it's not annual, it needs to be continual there.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Scott Dochterman joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. And that, just to not stay on baseball, but I go back, like this MVP race between PCA and Shohei, and I mean, they're both doing amazing things. It's not quite Sammy and Mark McGwire back in the steroid days when they were doing what they were doing, but it's great to. I mean, baseball needs to celebrate this and get to the front burner of all of this stuff, because they've got two charismatic and larger than life figures that are leading the game of baseball. And sometimes I wonder if people knows that that's going on, but that's a rant for a different day. Let's talk some college football as well. I guess we'll start in Iowa City, because that's what everybody's talking about. Quarterback competition, all eyes on Kids Day in Iowa City. I guess just first and foremost, your thoughts on that competition. And I guess it was a heck of a day for Jeremy Hecklinski, no pun intended. Your thoughts from Saturday and what you saw.
I'll add the pun. It was a heck of a day. No question about it. It was phenomenal. I've been doing this for a long, long time, seeing the Kids Day practices. It's almost always defense crushing the offense. I've seen some really bad ones. In fact, probably my funniest one, or the one that always stands out to me, was 2008. And this was Pat Angerer and his defense annihilating the offense. I mean, just, Sean Green was the running back, and they had a pretty good offensive line, but they could not move the ball at all. If they gained 5 yards running the football, I'd have been surprised. This was the complete opposite of that. And I've never seen a quarterback in a Kids Day practice destroy the defense that way and shred them, and in such a way that it wasn't, there are questions on defense, no doubt about it. But I think to see his precision, to see his quick release, his decision making not only to make the pass to the open player, but to make it to the right receiver at the right time, to be able to sidestep any kind of pass rush and do it just so, I won't say effortlessly, but confidently, is rare. It's not anything we've seen. Even when Beathard was there or Stanzi was playing in these things, that Nate Stanley, we have not seen the quarterback play this well. Now, does it mean that he's going to do that in Ann Arbor in Game 4 or even Iowa State in Game 2? I don't know. I won't predict anything like that. But based on what I saw, Matt, this was just unbelievable. 17 to 25, 205 passing yards, 5 touchdowns, no interceptions, only a couple of passes you could say that that's not a really good pass. But he completed almost 70% of his passes against one of the better defenses in the country. And I came away going, if this is a competition, it should be over. There's just no way you can change you can't hide what your eyes see. You have to go like this to say, I don't believe it, because I saw it.
No, Doc, I think the thing too you look at, and we'll show some video courtesy of WHO of Hecklinski the other day, and you look at it, but that's what we've seen. We saw this. The fans saw this. You guys saw this. I know you don't want to put much into one practice, and that's what Kirk's going to talk about. But the fact that it was on this stage is a big deal, isn't it? That we can't unsee, I guess, what we saw.
Absolutely, it's a big deal, because among the things I had a 2.5, 3 hour interview with Tim Lester during the summer, and some of the things he wanted to do was talk about how he wanted to see how they did against the defense, and he wanted them almost to get hit, just to say, okay, are they how do they react once they get hit by the defense? And then ultimately he's like, we can't probably do that. But it was also, what are they going to do in front of the fans? Everything has been like, we want to see what they do in front of 70,000 at Kinnick. Well, there was probably 7,000 at Kinnick. That's fine. But it was in front of people. It was in front of media. It was in the stadium. It was a scrimmage situation. It was everything you could possibly manufacture to put this in a situation where it simulates what a game would be like. And you'd be a fool to say that, well, this is just one practice out of 25 and it's only the 9th practice of the year, and say that it doesn't bear more weight, because you have on one side one quarterback who could not miss because he was so accurate and decisive and showed a quick release and got the ball in time and threw every route. I mean, pretty much every route on the route tree. He's hitting seam passes, he's hitting wheel routes, he's hitting outs, he's doing it with accuracy. And then the other quarterback really struggled, which I can understand. Okay, it's his worst practice of the year, which is pretty much what's been said. But you did it in front of people, and you weren't real impressive last year when you had to come out and do it in an important situation either. So that fuels more doubt. And so he'd better be perfect the next 2 weeks. Hecklinski better not be at all. And you're going to have to come out and explain this, significantly. Like, okay, in every other practice, he was much better. But I just don't see that happening. I think everything that I saw, unfortunately, from Hank Brown was he was off on his timing. He wasn't decisive in his throws. He misfired. High, wide, low. It just wasn't there. And if you're doing that in front of people and people are watching it and you're pressing, what are you going to do when you're in Ann Arbor in Game 4, or you got the Ohio State University in Game 5? What are you going to do in a crazy place like Husky Stadium in Game 6? It suggests to me that one player is very confident, the other player just didn't rise to the occasion when he needed to.
So, Doc, after the scrimmage, usually, and just like usual, Kirk comes over, talks to the media, and just kind of says what you'd expect Kirk Ferentz to say. And I got a kick out of social media. I always get a kick out of social media, but some people are like, how are you not naming him as your starting quarterback? What in the there was no way in ever that Kirk was going to walk over and say, hey, Doc, just so you know, Jeremy Hecklinski's our starting quarterback. So I guess balance that from the fans that listen to Kirk afterwards and say, like, why didn't he name him the starter? That was never going to happen, was it?
No, not in a million years. Most quarterbacks, most coaches would not do that at any level. In the NFL, after a preseason game, would somebody walk in, we've had a great, practice, he's our starter. It's just never going to happen. Now, in the NFL, that it happened maybe 2 days later at a press conference. It's like maybe they would look over the film, they'd identify it, they'd go tell the players. They would have one-on-one meetings and explain their situation, and then they would do it. He's not going to come after a practice and just come out and say, well, we found our guy, and raise his hand like it's a prize fight or something. So I almost laughed going into that huddle with Kirk afterwards, because I almost thought, whatever, he's just gonna deflate this as best he can, and he did, and I expected that. I don't know that what I've seen in this is kind of the Iowa cynicism that's crept in over the years. That people are like, oh, he's going to name Hank Brown as starter, and they're mad about it. It's like they almost want it to happen so they can be mad. I always say the angriest Iowa fans are the ones that have to endure a winning streak because they can't vent their frustration, and I think that's the same way here. That how can he? What did he not see? It's like he has respect for the players. He's allowed them to compete. He's not going to. I'm sure privately he would say, "Wow, that was pretty impressive," or "Yeah, Hank really struggled." But he has too much respect for his players. I mean, a couple of years ago, he could have launched Cade McNamara into outer space for some of the things he did. And instead, he tried to say, look, we need to have some compassion for the player. Even though he, under no circumstances should he have had any, but he still said that. And that's the way Kirk is, and that's why he has so much respect from people. And my perspective is after this that, and I would have to make some calls to find out, is that they started operating with Jeremy Heklinski as kind of the clear number one. And based on what I saw, is I would start throwing Jimmy Sullivan in some number two reps, because I thought he was pretty good too. And, whether that was just the worst day that Hank Brown ever had or not, you do have to have those contingency plans. Like, what if somebody gets dinged? What if somebody has an ankle in a game? Then you might have to go to number two. And based on, they said Jimmy Sullivan's been coming on. He proved it, and again, in a live setting against a, number three defense. So we'll give him that. But I felt like he was the one that, Heck put me way up here, but out of the quarterbacks, I really think that Sullivan was probably my second favorite one.
Scott Dochterman joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You were on a few times ago, maybe last time, and you gave 50.5%, I think, Heklinski, and 49.5% to Hank Brown. Where would you put those? I love percentages. I'm a percentages type of guy. Where's Scott Dochterman's percentages as we sit here on August 18th after Kids Day and what we saw?
95.5 Heklinski. I just don't think you can look at that performance and not be impressed if you're Tim Lester, Kirk Ferentz, anybody associated with the offense, and say, yeah, we got to run with this guy. He may have a little bit more risk, because he did in the spring. He had double the interceptions in competitive situations than Hank Brown. But when you see what he's capable of doing, and again, that was against an Iowa defense, then I think you got to go, yeah, we got to lean in this direction pretty hard. And so now that doesn't mean that Hank Brown shouldn't keep working, shouldn't try to do everything in his power to show that that was an aberration and compete and put himself in a position to where if Heklinski struggles, or if he has a really bad couple of games or practices, or he struggles at Ann Arbor and he throws 3 interceptions in the first half, that you're not able to step right in. You need to be a consummate pro and teammate, especially because you're getting paid like a pro. Then I think right now he's got to go through that. But it's, as a competitive phase, to me, it's over. It's Jeff. It's Jeff. I covered Jeff, his uncle, when he was at Western Illinois when I was in college in 1996, 30 years ago. But Jeremy Heklinski, to me, is the guy.
A few more Iowa. I want to talk a little Illinois. There is the skepticism out there that, oh no, what's wrong with the Iowa defense? I mean, and I think I went on my wife and I went out Saturday evening, and a few people came up and said, like, that doesn't happen at a Kids Day. 5 touchdown passes just doesn't happen. How concerned, or are you concerned with that side of the football? I know Zach Lutmer really didn't play. I think Tyler Brown's out. I think they were missing some people. Is there a concern on that side, or is it in Phil we trust? And if the biggest question mark for Iowa football in August is going to be defense, and you're probably in a pretty good spot?
I think you can have some concern. I don't think you should be worried, if you know what I mean. It's that I think one, Heklinski was just so good that sometimes you just got to tip your cap, even as a defender. The throws that he made were on time. There were a couple that were one situation, and this was the seam route to DJ Vanami that was over Cam Buffington. It was a perfect pass. But what I would be concerned about, or can also see, is the safety, which was Marcelo Vitti at the time, a true freshman, got sucked in and then wasn't deep enough. That pass probably wouldn't have happened. And if it did happen, he would have been in position to make a play on the ball. Instead, it was a touchdown on a linebacker. So it's the thinking game that I would kind of look at in some of those situations. Like, yeah, that exactly. That was another one there on a backup linebacker. Yeah. I don't have a real problem with that. As far as if there was a concern I have, it's probably the defensive line still, because now they were playing touch football in the running game. They weren't really hitting and wrapping or bringing to the ground. And I was also a little concerned about lack of pass rush getting to the quarterback, but they got to Hank Brown a little more frequently. Now, the release that Heklinski had was very quick and decisive, so it was hard to get there. But Hank Brown was a little less decisive, a little slower in his delivery, a little slower in his decision making, so it enabled the defensive line to get there. So I I still think that that's going to be an area that's going to take some time to grow, and we won't see the best version of it until late in the season. But I think so. My level of concern on this one is, I would, I'd be a little concerned knowing who they play in games 1 through 3 in the Big Ten schedule. But in the big picture, I'm less concerned that this will be a bad defense or anything like that. I think it'll just be one that continues to grow throughout the season.
Last one with the Hawkeyes. Give me some standouts. Give me 2 or 3 standouts not named Jeremy or Jeff Hecklinski. And I give you, I forgot Hank Brown's name on media day. Yeah. So we had both quarterbacks, introduced both of them. Full little question, Hank this, Hank that. I get done, and I'm like, 2 quarterbacks here at Iowa, Jeremy Hecklinski, and my mind just went completely blank. And I'm like, and Hank had to go, Hank Brown. I'm like, thank you. So it happens to the best of us. Anyways, give me a couple standouts not named Jeremy Hecklinski that we saw on Saturday that you're impressed by.
Evan James stops the list. Wow, what an impressive player. And he's going to be their slot, and you could see it. And he did so many great things. I mean, he scored 2 touchdowns. He really gets open. He's got good burst off the line of scrimmage, good hands. He could have caught another one from Hank Brown, and he had a great route, had the defender beat, and Hank Brown couldn't connect with him. I mean, he made a really bad throw. It was a deep throw, and he was – and he had to change his trajectory just to try to adjust to the ball, and it still wasn't good enough. I thought Evan James was a guy that made me, kind of blink a few times going, okay, you throw him on with Reese Vanderzee, who's a guy we know, DJ Vanami, who's a guy who I think is going to be one of the 3 or 4 best in the game, as a tight end, and Tony Diaz, who, didn't have the kind of practice that you're going, wow, but I don't think he got the ball that often. He did make some good plays, though. But Evan James was the one that really wowed me, I would say. And as far as defenders go, there were a couple that I thought that played well. I really liked Yohaneza. I thought he got some good penetration, and those are some veteran tackles. He had to go against Trevor Lauk a lot, and I thought that's something that, Trevor Lauk's, again, one of the 2 or 3 best in the game. He's a first-round draft pick probably next year if he comes out. And Cale Winter, he is, he's still officially a walk-on, but he's going to start. It's just a matter of if he's going to start at center or guard. And I liked what I saw out of him. And it is interesting. I did talk to George Barnett about this, and he said, I go, okay, which position are they going to go with? And he's like, because Peeper's going to play wherever they want him to, but it's like right now Winter is a little bit better center than he is guard. They'd like for that to be flipped to where Winter is playing better at guard, so then they can put Peeper, who's the best interior lineman in the country, at center. But if it's not that way, they're going to do what's best for the team, which would be then Winter. But I thought he was really good too. And then finally, I'd be remiss if I didn't mention LJ Phillips. What an impressive running back he is. I think they had some good running backs alongside him, but he's probably the best one, and I don't like throwing out the comparison game, but what I saw of him was a lot of Sean Green. And so when you look at the way they look offensively, we'll just keep it to that side of the ball. When you got 2 of the best offensive linemen in the country and some others who've come on and been pretty good players, one of the best tight ends in the country, a receiving core that I think is way more improved. It's easily the best that it's been since maybe 2020 when they had guys who were still in the NFL. Running back room, which is very healthy. And then finally you have a quarterback who played like that. This could be an explosive offense. I mean, you're looking at 30-plus points a game. Easy for me. Maybe 32 points a game.
What world are we living in, Doc? That's crazy to even think about.
Yeah, and it's funny. You just turn back the clock, Matt, and you just think back to what if it was like this in 2022 or 2023, and how good they could have been back then.
You know what? And I think shouldn't go underlooked is I think Tim Lester obviously has done a fantastic job. You talked to him for several hours this summer and talked to him frequently, but I think, Tyler Tashman was on here yesterday saying, like, regardless of what happens quarterback-wise, he trusts Tim Lester, which I think is important as well. I will say this too, give Tommy a little bit of love. We did a podcast with him the other day, and he reported that it looks like Winter's been told he's going to start at center, and Pieper's going to be at guard to start the season, which is crazy because if you look at all the NFL draft stuff, Pieper's the best center in the country, and he might not even play there this year, but really, really two interchangeable, really good parts for the Iowa offense as well. Scott Dochterman joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. You spent a good amount of time down in Champaign as well, and they had their media day on Thursday, and it doesn't look good for me in the Quad Cities to have them have media day on Thursday and then me do an entire show from Iowa football media day on Friday. I try to stay a little more balanced. I am a pregame host of Iowa, so it's a little easier on that side for me. But obviously there's excitement down there. The pieces and the stories that you've done from that stretch down in Champaign, really, what impressed you the most about being in Champaign and around that program?
There is a different vibe around the Illinois athletic department, sports program, than there's been really that I can recall. And I wrote that this massive scoreboard, which is 80 yards wide, it is just, you don't notice it until you see it in person and just how big it is. It doesn't do it justice in photos. But it kind of represents a renaissance, if you will, of Illinois athletics, because you look at all these different factors that they have. Finally they exceeded $200 million in revenue last year. You look at what they did, obviously, in men's basketball, getting to the Final Four. Under Brett Bielema in the last 2 years, they've been fantastic, having 19 wins in 2 years, which is the most in a 2-year period. And then they have the best athletic director in the country. No question in my mind, Josh Whitman. He is number one, and I won't put anybody else in his category. In fact, some very, very high people in the industry have put him in that category of he would be a commissioner candidate, wow, whether it's Big Ten or another commission, or if they start a new governance structure or something like that, he would be the number one guy for that. So I think they are in a really healthy place as an athletic department, and that is allowing this department to grow. And then I'd be totally remiss if I didn't mention what it's done with football season ticket sales, that they expect to be around 48,000 tickets, season ticket sales. They had to expand their student section from 8 to 10,000 to meet demand. And that's a renaissance. It's kind of something that I always felt Illinois was the sleeping giant of the Big Ten. It's 2 hours from Chicago, 2 hours from Indianapolis, 3 hours from St. Louis. You know how Illinois is. It's so diverse from top to bottom. I mean, they're unrecognizable downstate from Chicago, but yet it's all one state. And there's no other P4 public school in the state, yet it's always kind of underachieved. It has underachieved. I don't know that that's going to be the case, in the big picture. Now maybe they might take a step back this year because they have so much turnover in football, but they also might be pretty competitive. They have a really good schedule that lays out for them. And, with Brett Bielema and some of the pieces they have in place, I think they can be another bowl team, which 3 straight bowls for Illinois is a big deal. And so this is to be a program that now that it's got stable footing and it's elevating itself in every single area, that it can be the big dog that it should have been all along. 6th most populated state, Chicago, you've got it all. So I came away really impressed with the direction of the program, football, athletics as a whole, and what they're trying to do. And then you look at the big scoreboard, and it's 17,315 square feet. The next biggest one is like 10,600 at Auburn. So you're talking about almost double the size of the next biggest scoreboard in the country. Purdue's is massive, and it's third, and it's like 8,000 and change. So you look at it and you go, okay, I hope it blocks the wind. Champaign, it needs to. But then secondly, it provides them with something that they can kind of promote and sell and do all the right things. So anyway, it's I would say it's something that Illinois fans should be very happy with.
I want to go back to the fan support, and we joke about it. Sometimes we used to joke about it, like as Iowa media going down there. I remember the blowout game; it was 63-0 or whatever it ended up being, and the joke was it was only half full to begin with, and half of that half was probably Iowa fans, and by the second quarter it was just some Iowa fans. But there is and they've had times where like there's been. I remember when Lovey was announced, it was like capture that momentum and run with it. But they could never sustain it. Why are they sustaining it now? Because those numbers are 48,000 season tickets is unheard of down there. Expanding the student section when you used to be able to freeze ESPN and count like there's 27 students. Why? Why has it been able to be sustained? Is it Brett? Is it Josh? Is it the combination? Can you put your finger on something that's made this time different than all the other times before?
I'll bring this up too, that in that 2018 game where Iowa won 63-0, in the third quarter, I counted the students that from the press box, there were 29. Yep. And I FOIA'd the ticket scans, and there were 13,000 people that actually attended that game. Yeah. And as you said, there were a good half of them were at least Iowa fans, and by the end of the game, they were all Iowa fans. It's a combination of Josh has put the pieces in place. He thought he did with Lovie Smith, but what Brett has done, and this gets back to Brett as a head coach. He understands this part of the world really well. He's from Prophetstown. He's from, he played at Iowa. He knows how to, and he coached obviously Wisconsin for several years. And so he understands what you have to do to build a program in the Midwest. And that is go to, in some ways, touch out and reach every single high school in the state of Illinois, which they did right away. And there were coaches that are like, wow, we've never heard from anybody from Illinois before, Lena Winslow and stuff like that. They just never heard from them. And what it's allowed them to do is build relationships, reach out to people. Sam Laporta wanted to go to Illinois. He's from Highland, Illinois. They never contacted him at all. And here Iowa goes down and unearths this guy who's, been a Pro Bowler in the NFL very quickly. I mean, and it's like, you're an hour away. Why didn't you go there? Well, they just didn't reach out. Well, Brett ensures that he will never do that. And there has been a great response in the Chicagoland, downstate, everywhere throughout Illinois to that. So that's enabled him to be competitive in two of their starters on offense, Aiden Lowry and Caden Fagan, who, Fagan was a running back. He's moving to tight end this year for the Illini. Iowa was in on both. They wanted both, and they both chose Illinois. And in the past, that might have went the other way. And so when you have those types of players that you're competitive with your border foes, your border rivals, teams that are with better programs historically than you, and you're winning those matchups. Lovey never did that. Lovey didn't care, or I should say he didn't do enough. He didn't go and compete in those areas, and he lost a lot of recruits. Brett has done that. And then coupled with the mindset of what you have to do to be successful and stick with it, which is line of scrimmage play, tenacious defense, and then, of course, he's adapted, which good coaches do. I mean, Bobby Houck coming in and running a 3-3-5, we're all a little skeptical about that, but when you see it and how it lines up, 3-3-5 is some more often than not a 4-2-5. I think that they are well positioned to be a competitive program in the Big Ten, and that's because of Brett, because Brett's done that. But coupled with that, their NIL and rev share money is on the same tier as those types of programs. It's not Ohio State or Michigan or any of those teams, but it's right there with Iowa. It's right there with Washington and teams like that. Excuse me. And so I think this is it shows that Illinois has the resources and the pieces in place to compete. And I would say that Lovey was not the recruiter that they hoped he would be. Brett is, and more so. And he's filling some of those vacuums. And when you have programs that take a dip, well, Wisconsin, a Purdue, teams that you would compete with for these players, and you go in and then you could slug it out with Iowa every now and then, then you're on the right track to be, if you're a developmental program, which they see themselves as, to be able to put themselves in a position to throw, to win a lot of games.
The last one for you. Blank wins would be a successful year for the University of Illinois.
I would say at least 7. And their schedule is pretty advantageous. I mean, they don't have, they open at Ohio State. So, okay, duh, that's not advantageous. But, other than that, in Oregon, they're really, nobody else has won in the Big Ten other than Iowa has won more than 7 games on their schedule. And then you throw on Duke at home. That's the ACC champ. They won 9 games last year, but Illinois throttled them early in the year. So, when you start to look at, okay, Purdue, Michigan State, Maryland, Nebraska, UCLA, Northwestern, those are games that if you're Illinois, you've got to figure, we should win them all, or 5-1, or, maybe you lose one close or something like that. And then you look at Illinois, Oregon, and Iowa, pick off one of them, and then sweep your non-cons, sweep Duke at home. And if you're doing that, then you're at 8-4, 9-3. You got to like what you see, because this is a year where you lost so many veterans from a team that was ranked in the top 10 at one point last year. You got to look at it and go, all right, we kind of weathered that little experience dip, and then we're going to be stronger for it. And so I think at a minimum you want 7, but I think they can get as high as 9.
Think about what you just said, Doc. That's the difference in Illinois football. The floor has been risen to where they're not quite to Iowa, where like you expect like 8 or 9 wins, but like if your floor is 7 wins, Doc. Like that's in Illinois.
Yeah.
That back 7 wins used to get you a contract extension. I think that right there says it all. You have your high school reunion coming up this weekend. 15 years, 10 years, whatever it may be. Are you going to take the jersey? I usually get to watch the jersey when you're inside. You got to take that thing out and wear it, don't you?
I could wear it now.
Right?
A couple of years ago, there's no way I could have worn it, and I wouldn't want to. But that's a good question. There actually is a scrimmage on Friday night, and this is part of the reason why we decided to do it this weekend. That Burlington and West Burlington are doing one of these scrimmages on Friday night. So me and a bunch of our former teammates at BHS are going to go and watch that, and with some friends of ours from the other school and stuff. So it's going to be great. It's 15 plus 10 plus 9, but it's not a true reunion year, but but it's still a good time. I'm excited about it. I love my river towns. I'm a river rat at heart from Burlington. I love the Quad Cities. Same thing. When my hometown used to play up there at Brady Street, now Rogers Street, Craig Stadium, all those years. And so I'm very much looking forward to it. And hopefully Sunday I don't wake up and hurt too bad.
There you go. Hey, enjoy the weekend. Enjoy the time off. Once you get back from this little time off, it's for a long time, you're rocking and rolling. Always appreciate you taking the time for this goofy little show. We'll catch up again real soon. Thanks, buddy.
Love being on with you, Dazzo.
Awesome. That is Scott Dochterman from The Athletic. Check out all this stuff. I really wanted to talk to him a good amount about Illinois as well, because really good stuff from down there that he had. But also, Doc is all over the place when it comes to college football in the Big Ten. So great stuff on Iowa and Illinois. Make sure you're following Doc and get to The Athletic for everything you need for college football. We got a lot more to get to. We're going to switch gears to the high school level. We're going to keep talking football because Friday night is week 1 in Illinois. We'll continue that with, we got not 1 but 2 head coaches to chat with coming up right after this on OTA. Hawkeye fans, football season is quickly approaching, and only one place can get you game day ready. The Black and Gold Shop is your official retailer of Iowa athletics. The largest selection of Hawkeye apparel, t-shirts, sweatshirts, hats, and more from top brands like Nike, Champion, and Under Armour. And your purchases directly help support Iowa athletics. So stop by one of their 3 great locations in the Quad Cities, Coralville, or West Des Moines. Or shop anytime at blackandgoldshop.com. The Black and Gold Shop, your official apparel provider of Iowa athletics. For over 65 years, Lindquist Ford has proudly served the Quad Cities. and they're just getting started. Looking for a new ride? Check out a healthy mix of new and quality pre-owned vehicles ready for you. Need service? Skip the waiting room. With free pickup and delivery and mobile service, they come to you. No delays, no hassle. From routine maintenance to a full-service collision repair shop, it's fast, friendly, reliable, and always transparent. Lindquist Ford, serving the Quad Cities since 1959. Experience the difference today.
All right, Crawford guys, we need to come up with a new ad campaign. Let's hear what you got.
Oh, let's make a new TV commercial.
No, we need a viral video.
I think my face would look good on a billboard. Come on, what?
Right. We need your head to be bigger.
For heating and air conditioning, plumbing, and electrical, count on the experts at Crawford Company.
Like me, the Crawford lady.
And me, the Crawford guy.
Ugh, you've got to be kidding.
Bryant, whatever it takes.
Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. High school football season, as we've been talking about all week, here before you know it, it's coming even quicker for the guys in Illinois. So we're focused on the Illinois side of the river with week 1 already upon us. We will be live at Assumption High School for Assumption and Geneseo coming up this week. Friday's edition of OTA, 10 a.m. We'll be ready for that fantastic matchup between two powerhouses, two traditional powerhouses, a really fun rivalry, the second straight year they have played. So that's just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to week 1 on the Illinois side of the river. It's a full slate all over the area, including in the Western Big Six, where we find our good friend Shawn Hickey down in Galesburg. Let's talk some Silver Streaks right now. Coach, first and foremost, thank you for doing this. Ready or not, high school football season's here. I don't know if you're ready or not. Does it seem quicker than in years past? Obviously it is, but does it seem different this summer?
Well, first of all, thanks for having me. Yeah, it does seem different. You know, the IHSA going a week early, and probably everybody you talk to gives you the snow, and going a week earlier, having a dead week change from the Illinois side of things. But yeah, it's I was talking with our kids Friday after a scrimmage, and the message was, you know, I think that overall for me as a coach, and this would be true for most coaches, is that we're never satisfied. You know, we do a scrimmage and we invite the public, we come out and we get caught up on just seeing the things that we need to improve upon. You know, we need to get better at this, need to get better at that. And that's the post scrimmage message to them. And sometimes we get lost in recognizing too what the good was, you know, where there are a lot of positives that were there, but my job is to not be satisfied and to keep us pushing. Because I know that our week 1 that we have coming up, which I'm sure we have Dunlap. I'm sure that Coach Kaz is doing the same thing. You know, we're not ready for this. We're not ready for that. And certainly we have a few more days for us to get ready for Dunlap Friday.
Coach, you look at it, and I remember talking to you a few years ago at the Western Big Six banquet, and you were the new guy on the block, and maybe head spinning a little bit just because of the fact you came in later in the process and you were trying to, you know, get things situated. And I remember talking about it being a process and maybe a slow process, but it was going to take time to build what you want at Galesburg. Here we are now, a few years later, year 3. Looking back at year 1 to year 3, how has maybe the progress of your program come? I know you're excited about where you guys are getting to. How would you assess the first couple of years? Because I know it was a quick process early on in your tenure.
Yeah, it was, I came in with late June, had about 5 weeks to get ready for the season to start. But that's neither here nor there. It's my job as a coach to get the kids and players and my coaching staff where we need to be in that time frame. But no, where we've come from. I would say the biggest things when I think about where we were 3 years ago to where we are now, 2 areas. One is changing the culture. The guys that we have around are understanding what our role is within the school community itself, how we should behave ourselves in the classroom, how we conduct ourselves in the hallway. Then that carries over to the behavior on the field. You know, the way that we are, the way we approach games, the way that we make sure that we are focused. We study film, we prepare to win, and then on the field we carry ourselves in a way that we represent not only ourselves, not only our family names that's on the back, but more importantly the name that's on the front. And then how we carry ourselves in the community has been the key areas. We do a lot of community service. We really want the kids to get outside in the community so they can see what it's like to be a functioning member of society. What it is. They're and this is every kid, every teen. They're very narrow-minded. They see what they need for themselves, and really trying to expose them to a world outside of what their life is and their small little world that they have. So, that's to be overall a contributing member in society, like what it means to be that contributing member, or to be active within your church, or to be a good spouse, and those type of things, and eventually down the line, what it means to be a good father if you have children. These are all things that we want the kids to be grasping on a larger picture within the program. And then the second thing that I've seen is we haven't gotten our numbers where we want them to yet, but what we've seen is more consistency in those numbers. As we've gotten, we kind of maintain the same number, which has been around 80 to 90 for us, program-wide, 9 through 12. But what we're seeing is each year, in the first year, we had maybe 30 kids who were very consistent in coming. Last year, we were closer to 40 kids that were very consistent in the summer, and now we're up to about 50 kids that are consistent every day in the summer. So it's been a gradual change that I've noticed that, it's moving in the right direction. Kids are grasping the expectations and know what they should be doing in the summertime. And then I guess I said two, but a third one, I listened to Rick Little Sunday talk about his youth program, and he says, hey, we have 300 kids overall in Quincy who are excited to be about football or playing. And I started doing the math in my head, and we're well over 302 because we had in our youth camp, we had over 130 kids come to the youth camp. It was a week-long camp, and it was very well done and led mostly by our players. And I think that when I first came in, we had 60. 2 years later, we're at 130. So I think that's a good growth within the community. I think we're like Rick Little had said also on Sunday, he changed the culture not only within the program but also in the community, and I'm seeing those strides pay off for us as well.
Galesburg head coach Shawn Hickey joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. There are some players that hit the ground running. Some players hit the ground running where they got maybe baptism under fire, if that makes any sense. But they got some snaps, and they got to see maybe sooner than later what life in the Western Big Six is like, and that usually pays dividends eventually. And I feel like it might be for this team this year. Talk about that, because you had some young players that you had to put out there and play high school football in the Western Big Six, which is never easy. Those inexperienced players suddenly have some experience. Kind of talk about that this year, because I think that's something that you're excited about.
Yeah, it is, and I think the kids are, the program's excited about it, and the community as well. At the banquet, I talked about our motto is "Pressure is a Privilege," and where that comes from is the fact that we had to throw a lot of kids to the fire last year because our older numbers weren't great. Perhaps I ran them off, with expectations. I don't really know. We can't always look at and try to figure out a reason. Sometimes we just have to look at what we have and move forward. And that's kind of what we had to do last year. And that was, we had a lot of sophomores that we needed to move up and play with for a variety of reasons. We had our returning starting quarterback came to me in June and says, I'm going to focus on one sport instead. And then that just left us with a 140-pound sophomore to run out there as being our starting quarterback, because we didn't, it's not uncommon for programs to alternate years for quarterbacks, not always have one every year. So we didn't have an incoming junior that year who was a quarterback. So we had to go down to the sophomore level. But yeah, we had to go out there with a lot of sophomores to play with last year. The learning curve was big for them. I mean, they went up against a very strong Dunlap team. Their line was huge last year, and they had to learn really quick. Week 2, we had a victory against Limestone, and then week 3, we started conference. And Coach Welch, who we know had a good team last year as well, came in, which was our first conference game. And those kids, we tried to tell them conference is going to be different. It's going to be more like the speed that you saw in Dunlap, but Coach Welch's teams, they're going to be hungry. And they came out there, and we just didn't adjust well to them. It was a different speed. We had it at home. It was our homecoming, and it unraveled for us very quickly. But then we overcame some things. By week 7, we went down to Quincy. I felt like in a matter of 4 weeks, Those kids had adjusted very well. We try to do things on our planning end to, how do we make these guys more successful? And we had good changes coaching wise. They adjusted, and we were playing very well. We played a very solid game against Geneseo. We were playing well toe to toe with Quincy, and that's when we had the quarterback get hurt and the second leading receiver in conference get hurt in the same game. And after that, the season was kind of, they're both done for the season, and it just kind of unraveled from there. But with these kids that were coming back, I could tell you that we're returning 8 players on offense and 7 on defense. Some people might go, wow, that's a lot, but at the same time, they're still juniors, and we hope to have that same conversation next year. And we come back and we say, hey, yeah, we have 8 returning starters on offense and 7 on defense because they've been there for 3 years. I think it sounds better next year than it does this year because we're still young, we're still growing, and people can look at that and go, man, 8 returning starters. Yeah, they're still juniors. And we have some seniors, I'm not taking away from them, but we're still very, we can say we're young and we're very junior heavy.
Coach, you look at it and this offense is, you mentioned some of the players that were maturing and getting better last year. Tell us about some guys we're going to hear on Friday nights that you're excited about. We'll start offensively because I know that you mentioned there was numbers were growing and stats were growing and points were growing last year as well. Where offensively do you like what you have this year?
Well, I just like our install that we had in the summer. We do have those kids returning, although still young, but they're familiar with the offense, and we're continuing to build off of what we had from last year, and guys are understanding. So our blocking's better, our routes are better, our timing's better. So all that's just improving because we don't have to spend time to do the install. We're not sitting guys down and saying, here's what your steps look like for your inside run or your RPO or whatever it might be that we're repping. And then we bring in the young guys. We bring in the incoming freshmen and sophomores, and they're watching and taking things in. And I hope it's going to make it better with our progression down the line. But with some of the people that we're looking at on the line, we have returning starters in Daxon Eastberg and Marcus Duckweiler and Landon Petty, Ethan Horman, excuse me. At receiver, we have Kevin Phillips coming back, who is a receiver. Antoine Walker, who was the almost leading receiver last year until he got hurt at Quincy. Zach Smith as a junior, that's going to be coming back to play at receiver as well. Running back that started last year as a sophomore, Corey McGee, will be back, backed up by Prosper Aramu, who is a senior. So I think we have some good bodies that are back there for us. Hopefully we can protect Grady Hickey as quarterback, and keep him healthy and throwing the ball well, because when he was injured last year too, he was second in the conference in passing. So we had a number 2 receiver, number 2 quarterback by week 7 in conference, and they both got hurt the same game.
Coach, you look at it defensively and maybe even trenches wise, as well as I do, the Western Big Six battles are one up front. Football, not just Western Big Six, but talk about maybe the trenches and maybe defensively as well, where you guys need to be and what you guys see on that side of the football.
Well, we were 7th last year in rush defense. That is, if we could move the ball and score things offensively, that's great. And we had some success on the offensive side, but we couldn't stop anybody defensively. They just ran all over us. And that's been a focus of emphasis this offseason, what areas we need to work on, looking at personnel, movement, in preparation for us coming into this season. I think we have the players in position that we need to defensively, and we're ready to, we'll see, I guess, with Dunlap. Dunlap is, for Friday night, they've come out publicly and said that they think they have the 2 best running backs in the conference down there. And I think they really want to establish the run. So we'll find out real quick Friday how good we are at stopping a run.
Absolutely. Shawn Hickey joins us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. I want to talk to you about we talked about starting early. The calendar is different at the end as well. And we joked on Sunday, you could maybe win 2 games, get in the playoffs. 3 is going to get you in probably. It's a different look at that end of things. Do you talk to the boys? I've asked every coach this. Do you talk to the guys about what it looks like at the end of the season in late October, November, or do you leave that stuff alone and you can talk about it later on and you're just worried about playing football right now?
We leave that stuff alone for the most part. I don't know how much the kids understand about the expanded playoffs and those types of things. Our goal has always been a winning season, 5-4. Our goal has always been to achieve the playoffs. And in the old system, that was to have a winning record primarily. When I coached before, under Coach Wes Olson, we had a 5-4 season and didn't make it in. The next season we had a 4-5 season and almost made it in, but we didn't. So we had 2 back-to-back playoff caliber teams that could have gotten in, but the conference was so good those 2 years, and it was very difficult. And it was the point system of how it worked out. We were on the outside looking in. I mean, I think the one year we were 3 points out from making conference, or excuse me, from making the playoffs. And that's kind of that's the litmus that the Galesburg community uses for success is, do you make the playoffs or not? And with this, maybe we can change that. Am I excited about making playoffs with 3 wins and saying that we're a playoff team? Not particularly, and I don't know how much the community would look at that and say, well, okay, you got in, but at the same time, if that's been a litmus, it's, do you make the playoffs or not? And if that's going to be the deciding factor for the community as to whether or not they want to keep a coach around or whatever, if we can string together a couple of years with playoffs and say, hey, we're moving in the right direction, the biggest cure right now for numbers is to win. Mm-hmm. And if we can get that mentality to say, hey, we made the playoffs, we might have more kids that start to show up. No, and then we continue to push that idea of the consistency among them. And we're going to start to increase numbers overall and have more reliable numbers and put better product out in the field. It's just, like you said, at the very beginning, it's a process. We're in year 3, and it'd be great to have, it works, I think, in our favor to have that expanded playoff for that litmus in the community to say, they made the playoffs. Yeah, hopefully we can make that this year.
Also, it gives, and I'm not a proponent of the new system by any stretch of the imagination, but one of the pluses, it gives younger teams that do go 3-6 or 4-5 an extra week of practice, an extra game, being in those type of situations, moving forward as well. So there are some good parts about it as well. A few more before I let you go. It's a family affair down there. I know we had Coach Morrissey talking about he's coaching with his dad and everything. You're not coaching with your dad, you pointed out, but you have your son on your staff, and obviously your son is the starting quarterback. What's the family dynamic like? I coach my kids in much less important sports than you are on the high school football ever at the varsity level. And there's a fun dynamic, an interesting dynamic. What is it like coaching your son, but then also you've got his older brother coaching him and you're under his staff? There's just a lot of family dynamics. How's the dinner table at night, Coach?
The dinner table itself, we're telling them to eat more, less talk, more eating, to be honest. But, and also to note, last year too, the middle brother was a senior on the football team. Yeah. So we had all 3 boys down there, and it was very awesome. Special. But there's a lot, and you heard me say, and I've done it for all 3 years there at the banquet, is I always thank my wife first, because really that's for as busy as we are, and the car rides, and of course now Grady can drive, and that helps out too. But it was a matter of I can't go do this. We've got to get him someplace, and this and that. And at that point in time, Riley, the oldest, who was on staff, was still in college. But last year was the first year to have all 3 of them there. Pretty special year for us. And now Drew has gone off to play over at Monmouth College, and I still have 2 of them here. But yeah, overall, it's an interesting dynamic. I'm primarily on the defensive side, and I coach linebackers. So positionally, I don't see Grady an offensive quarterback. Our quarterback's coach, Ty Papali'i, has him. And then when he comes over on defense, he is coached by Rakeem Spinks, who has a secondary, and his brother Riley, who has safety. So he's back there on defense. So I don't really see him that much in terms of getting reps and coaching him in that aspect. But when it comes to dinner time, I don't bring up too much about it either, because I want to make sure that the coaches are doing their part, and that's why I have them on staff to do what they do. I trust their decision making, their play call, and I have to let that go. But last year it was hard for me to when we're on offense to go and coach defensive guys who are off on the sideline, when every play and every snap was, watching a 6-foot, 140-pound sophomore try to survive every snap in the Big Six was very nerve-wracking. Yeah. I know it was nerve-wracking for mom in the stands too, to have 2 kids out there. So, it was a very difficult season last year. And certainly once the injury happened in Quincy, it was that Quincy game was a tough game for us as a family as well. But it's tough. I know too. I think it was Coach Gorgel 2 years ago at Moline. His son, as a senior, had a season-ending leg injury. And when we got to Moline, our week 9, I talked with Kevin about that. And just how hard it is that your children put things in all the time and hard work, and they're excited about their senior year, and then to have it kind of taken away from them. And our senior last year, Drew, got a separated shoulder, grade 3, week 1, and was out 6 weeks. And so we were able to share those stories, and it is hard as a parent to be coaching your child. There's a lot of positives too, but it's rewarding in the end. I don't want to sound negative. It's always going to be rewarding, but it comes with some hardships as well.
Absolutely. Shawn Hickey joining us from Galesburg. A few more for you. One more football-wise, and then some dumb questions. But on Sunday, I think it was Nick Welch that referred to you as the gentleman of the Western Big Six. Is that because you're a gentleman, or is it because the rest of the Western Big Six coaches are a bunch of idiots? I would say they set a lower bar, but the gentleman of the Western Big Six, you'll take that, won't you?
I'll take that. And that, going back to what I said at the beginning of the podcast, Matt, was it only set me back 250 to have Nick say that. So it's perception, how we want the public to perceive us. But no, I told Nick afterward, I said I appreciate the kind words. Nick has always been one who in the past 2 seasons or 2 banquets since I've been there has been kind of a leader in taking shots and having fun and doing things that way. And he took his shots, but when it came to me, he chose not to. And for whatever reason, I thought that was a kind gesture, and I was appreciative of that. And I think he wanted to get to talking about his team some more, which is fine as well. Yeah. But the gentleman of the conference, I don't know. I mean, it's
Coach.
This year's banquet was a different one. It was kind of interesting, the comments, but aside from that, I go to the conference banquet like that, and I enjoy talking to those guys. Yeah. It's exciting. I know we're all there for the same reasons. We're all trying to be successful. We're all trying to help kids, and then we go head to head, and we enjoy the competition that we have and the banter that goes with it. I think that in 3 years, I've seen the coaches there kind of grow into a nice bond that we really respect each other and really want to beat each other on Friday night. So I think that's a fun dynamic.
Absolutely. Some dumb questions for you real quick, off the field stuff. What was the best part of your summer? Tell me what did you do that was the most fun? And you can't say football. Obviously, there was a lot of football. But what did you do that was the most fun about your summer?
I would say what we did, we took aside from our vacation that we went to down in Florida, Miramar Beach, we went to my father and I. We've always taken the boys to a St. Louis Cardinals game every summer. Last summer we weren't able to, but this year we were able to get down to a game. It was it's hotter in Hades. It was 109-degree heat index. My dad's 81, and we had to keep him in the shade and keep water towel over his head. But it was fun to get the boys back down to St. Louis and watch the Cardinal game, and they won. So that was probably the highlight of the summer for that.
That's awesome. Coach, if I'm coming down to Galesburg, I'm a foodie. I'm coming down to Galesburg, and you're gonna tell me to go someplace to eat. Tell me where am I heading in Galesburg? Where are the spots to go?
I guess my next question is, where are you interested in? I mean, are you going to be? Are you more of
I'm interested
a fine
in
and dine?
Everything. I'm interested in everything, Coach. Look at me.
I would say our go-to home for the family is to go to El Rancherito. We've known Miguel there for years, and our oldest Riley was, when I coached before, he was a water boy. So every time we'd come in, he would call him water boy in Spanish, and he still calls him that when we go in today. So
I love it.
It's good to go see El Rancherito.
I love it. Are you superstitious, Coach? And if so, how?
I used to be really superstitious. I used to have a smooth rock in my pocket years ago when I would coach, and it was a calming thing. But not so much now. I'm fine with walking under ladders and watching the black cat cross me in front of the road, and I'm just like, superstition is what you want to make it. So I'm not so superstitious now.
I like it. Last one. If you weren't coaching and teaching, I'm going to take teaching out of the equation as well. What would you be doing with your life besides being a dad,
I enjoy
husband?
Yeah, my downtime, I enjoy gaming. I grew up playing video games, and as I've gotten older, I do more board gaming too. So I still video game, board game. That's kind of where I would spend more of my time and doing those types of things. Yeah, just where do people want to spend their money and time with entertainment? I guess, and that's kind of where I put mine.
I love it. Hey, Coach, it's game week. Dunlap coming up on Friday. As always, we wish you the best of luck, and we'll catch up soon. Thanks so much for talking about the Silver Streaks.
Yeah, thanks, Matt.
Awesome. That is head coach down in Galesburg, Shawn Hickey. Man, it's crazy. We talked about at the beginning. High school football season is officially here. I'm just trying to get my kids off to school. They start tomorrow, and boom, high school football season. He is here before you know it, which is a very good thing. We got a lot more to get to. You watching OTA. It's a Tuesday right here in the Quad Cities. We'll be right back. Welcome. All right, be honest. Are you craving Hungry Hobo again? You know, that fresh sliced meat piled high on those amazing sandwiches, hot off the grill chicken and steak with all those delicious toppings, the biggest and best selection of baked potatoes, or simply some waffle fries dipped in cheese. Well, now that Quad City favorite is even easier to get. Download the Hungry Hobo app today. Order ahead, skip the line, and earn rewards all at the same time. There's Double Points Monday and exclusive specials as well. With 12 locations in the Quad City area, it's Hungry Hobo. Now even easier to find, but still hard to resist.
Rafferty Funeral Home, dedicated to serving families in the Quad Cities since 2007.
Hi, welcome. Here, come on in.
An experienced staff plans each service to reflect the unique life and legacy of your loved one. Rafferty Funeral Home is proud to serve our community with dignity, respect, and compassion, helping you to celebrate your traditions and lasting memories no matter your faith, culture, or budget. Rafferty Funeral Home in Moline. Call today to discuss prearrangements.
When it comes to quality, convenient pizza, Godfather's Pizza in Silvis has you covered. Featuring a beautiful dine-in area, delivery, and a carry-out window. Godfather's Pizza is that pizza you grew up with, not a convenience store. You see, at Godfather's Pizza, the dough is made fresh daily. That mozzarella cheese is shredded fresh and never frozen. And those toppings are abundantly piled high each and every time. Locally owned and operated since 2010, Godfather's is a huge supporter of local athletes right here in the Quad Cities. So come on by and check them out at 1211 Avenue of the Cities in Silvis. Order online at godfathers.com and reunite with that same delicious pizza you grew up with. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities. We've been talking about it this week so far. It's officially game week in the state of Illinois. High school football season is here. We'll kick off week one a little earlier than we have in the past. This Friday night, the first high school football Friday in Illinois, week one. A lot of great stories around the area. We've been previewing a ton of teams, as many as possible, talking to some great coaches from both sides of the river. We're going to go to the track for the second straight day and talk to our good friend, Guy Dierikx out at Riverdale. Hi, my friend. Are you ready for football? It doesn't seem like it should be football yet. I mean, maybe for you guys. Snuck up on me. How about you guys?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely, it's kind of, it was slow, and then all of a sudden it's a sprint right here to this, to game week. And I will say though, that even though it's week one coming up here, Riverdale started off 1-0 already in the Tug Fest this past weekend. So, we've had a little bit of competition already, and excited to kind of kick some things off with some competitive juices flowing already.
I love it. Coach, I want to talk to you first. I've talked to all the coaches, but it's different this year. You kind of talked about a sprint. It's the same for everybody. Different calendar for high school football this year. We'll talk maybe about the back end of it later on, but the summer is quicker. I joked in the Western Big Six coaches banquet this past Sunday that recruiting cycles are smaller, transfer portals are smaller, but all jokes aside, it does make for a quicker summer. What's been different? Have you noticed a big difference, or is it just everybody's in the same boat? You got to kind of row with everybody else and get to where you need to be?
Yeah, I think it's just finding out how to navigate those, new waters. Obviously we're a little bit quicker here, but changing with the dead week and then also cutting 5 days out, it was, so yeah, it is a little bit different. And so we usually do a little bit slower of a build up. Well, we kind of got fast and furious there, and then, gave the kids some time off because we want the kids to still be kids, they still need to be able to enjoy their summer, make a little bit of money and be kids, but at the same time knowing what we all have as goals in our mind, what we needed to do and accomplish, and felt like we were able to do that. At the same time, it's kind of like, you get started and then have to slow down or stop again. Then you get started and then, so finally excited here that we're rolling coming in here, but yet we still haven't even started school. And so our second day of school is going to be our first varsity home game. And so, yeah, just a little bit different of a dynamic going into that, but definitely excited to be here in this position at this point.
Yeah, ton of momentum at Riverdale, and I know the story, I don't want to say is overhyped or talked about too much, but it's remarkable. You've been on both sides of it. You sat out a varsity year of football not too long ago, and then last year to see what the kids did, and it was a build. It wasn't just last year, but the build to last year, and to have the 6-3 season, have a postseason game, and play the way you guys did. I guess you want to I don't want to put them past, but this is a new season. But how important has the journey been for your program and kind of rebuilding and putting a culture that you guys have this year? The past is important, isn't it?
Oh yeah. I mean, you always want to remember, it's important to remember where you're from in order to get to where you want to go. And so for the kids to build off of that and understand that, things aren't just given, and we've got a talented group of kids that are coming through right now. But that was part, I mean, they were all part of our community meetings, when we sat there quite a few years ago and discussed it and said, okay, well, what are we doing? Going to stay on this path? Are we going to keep pushing forward? Are we going to go 8-man? Are we going to, what are some, the options that we have? And so, the community, ultimately wanted to stay with the 11-man, and so did we, but wanted to understand. And, I've gone through, rebuilds at Louisa Muscatine and taken the playoffs in Davenport North and to playoffs, and then, Riverdale leading up to COVID and then re-going again. So, I mean, I'd say it's kind of four separate times now. And okay, if that's what we want to do, then I'm all on board with it. But these are some of the things that we've got to, kind of restructure and reshape and refocus on. And to their credit, they did. And so, they went full steam ahead, and they're the reason, them and the parents and the rest of the community are the reason why we're at where we're at right now, and talking about, another possibility about this, and having those high expectations just, continue to be raised again this year.
You mentioned those high expectations. You look at what you did last year, and we talked to some coaches on here, and I think Nick Welch was like, I got 6 guys back that played last year and 16 or whatever are gone. You're not in that boat. I mean, you have a lot of familiarity. A lot of guys have been in your program for a while, a really talented senior class. Can you talk about, and I know for you, you're so loyal to the seniors and what they've been through, and usually a great, season is built around that senior class. Talk about that senior class, because I know it's special, and it's guys that have played a lot of football for you in the past.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, they're winners. They're winners, not only on the field, but off the field and everything that they do. I mean, not only in just the sports realm, as the AD realm too, it's fun for me at different seasons to be fan, be a fan in the stands and get to watch that, and as, our school was able to win, and not just boys and it was girls. It was, from Scholastic Bowl to speech, and, we won 8 regional titles. And, so the fact that, these kids are winners in the classroom as well, and just winners in a lot of things that they do. So this class coming in, be line when we took it over of kind of looking towards this point in time. We restructured some of our junior programs and brought them closer, and I wanted to be more involved with our flag football down, when these kids were in 4th and 5th grade. I mean, 3rd and 4th grade is when we did that. And so we've kind of been building it up to this point, and kind of had everybody the buy-in the hard work. And now it's kind of nice to be at this point where we're seeing some of that stuff pay off for everybody involved in the program.
Riverdale's Guy Dierikx joining us on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. Coach, you look at a lot of guys coming back, but you kind of look at some stats and you're like, wait a minute, there's 2,400 yards or whatever of total offense that are gone from last year's team. I know you like what you have. There's some big shoes to be filled. Kind of talk about that offense, what it looks like, and you lose a couple guys that you loved handing the football off to last year.
Absolutely. We've got a lot to fill in for Gage and Kane, what they were able to do and meant to us, in our program. But at this point in time, we've got definitely feel like, Abe Creer, stepping back as a quarterback, and, feel like he's in, mid-season to late season form from where he was last year. And so taking the reins, we've only been able to, progress it even that much more for some of the things that we've been able to do. Stepping in, and again, Jackson Tegler was huge for us on the outside. He allowed a little bit more running space because, the forward pass used to be a 4-letter word in our dictionary. But now we kind of throwing that word around a little bit more. And with Jackson Tegler being special on the outside, he allows us to do a lot more, and then open it up for some other kids, some seniors, to step in and tote the rock for us. But also, in Lucas Dunbar, he played for us as a freshman, primarily last year as a sophomore, did some more defense just because of Gage and Kane. But, I think he is definitely more than willing to step in and ready to kind of carry that load. But, not only with that, it's, we've had a group of, front linemen here between Jackson Fritch, Marcus Bennett, Carter Orr, that, they've been on that offensive line for, this is going to be their third year. And can they just really anchor us and allow us to be a lot more multiple, and you don't have to worry about that as much anymore, that, they can take care of some things on the inside and allow us to be a little bit more multiple.
You talked about the trenches. I know they're super important at all high schools. I know you're very, that's important to what you guys like to do. Defensively, you got some guys back, some big guys up front. Talk to me about the defense for the Rams and what your expectations are on that side of the football coming up. Heck, 3 days from now, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Real quick.
Yeah, no, they, again, defensively, a lot of those same names, up front, starts up front. And so between Marcus and Jackson, definitely going to anchor that defensive line. But we got some newcomers coming in. Logan Hartman's doing a great job as a sophomore, and even have a freshman, Luke McLean, who was a state champ wrestler last year in IESA. A little bit over 200 pounds, and so he's doing a great job anchoring our defensive line and helping fill some spots there. Returning his older brother Jax McLean as a linebacker. Brady Rogers was our leading tackler, and talk a lot about offensively, but defensively we have more returning kids coming back. And so with Tegler in the backfield, Ben Porter, Cam Hartman on the defensive backfield as well, we return a lot of experience that has again allowed us to feel a little bit more comfortable going into this season and what maybe a little bit higher expectations for what we can do on the defensive side as well.
You mentioned expectations, and I'm not one to heap a ton of expectations, but we did this little show down at the other bar a few weeks ago, and Riverdale grad Brian Stocking had a heck of a prediction, and I'm going to play it for you, and then I'm going to get your response. Here's Brian Stocking a couple weeks ago.
So another team is Riverdale. I think Riverdale will go 9-0.
9-0.
Yes.
You heard it here first.
They
folks.
will go 9.
I think Guy Dierikx at home just went.
Whoa.
Riverdale plays Princeton to start off the season.
Yes.
Week 4, I believe they play Rock Ridge. Now,
I wish the Rock Ridge
under Sam Graves, Rock Ridge has lost one in his second term. They've lost one road game. That was last year. Riverdale is 7-1 their last 8. That will be their toughest game.
Now, obviously, you expect to win every football game, so I'm not putting you on the spot. You gotta love a guy like Brian Stocking having your guys' back, don't you?
Oh, absolutely. Faithful, blind faith over there with Stockpile.
We told him he can if you guys go 9-0, because one of my favorite moments ever doing TV on a Friday night was you did a mic'd up for us, and we didn't even know it until it came on, but you shaved your head. during the mic'd up. It was amazing. Don't you think if you guys go 9-0, to give you a little Brian Stocking shaves his head if you guys go 9-0. Would you support that?
I mean, I would, yeah. I mean, if we can, maybe, I think maybe a better thing though, because we all know that's gonna happen. We got to get him to like a full beard, or maybe a couple of those mustaches, to do like the highlight zone or something, with some fake mustaches or something on it.
I like it. We'll work on something, but expectation wise though, there are high expectations, and I even said to you text wise, I'm like, I don't think you guys can't go 9-0. It's just that's a lofty. What do you guys have expectation wise? I know there's big ones out there for Riverdale. Do you guys? How is your program? We want to win this and this and this? Do you write them down? Is it 1 week at a time like the old coach cliche probably always is? How do you guys approach expectations?
Yeah, I mean, I think, we spent a lot of time in the preseason talking about what our goals were. And, we talked about that good teams are coaches led, but great teams are players led. And so for us, really it's going to be up to the kids, what they want and how our practices, what those expectations that we have of them during practice are going to dictate how high they want to set their goals. And so, that ownership is there with the kids. They've done a great job so far. They've always been kind of more of that support group. They've been leaders, have been great kids, have been great workers, but they've never been the one that everybody has really looked to. And so for them to start off their senior season to be this, where, all right, we're looking at you, how high you want to go, where are we setting this bar? And so, that's a lofty goal. That'd be, we as a school, I think we've been 8-1 twice, but never been 9-0 in the regular season. And so, if we're going to go out there and set that bar high, might as well, start with a school record and again, roll into those playoffs, pretty hot. That'd be great.
Coach, before we let you go, I want to talk to you about the conference in general. And obviously both divisions are really good. Track football is a lot of fun each and every Friday night. I think last year coming in, we knew the normal suspects, and then we learned a lot as we went, if that makes any sense, like yourselves, Erie Prophetstown. There were several. How do you look at it this year? I mean, you look at that schedule, and Brian started rambling off certain weeks, which is crazy. You probably don't even know who you play week 4, and he knows right off the bat. But do you, as a whole, it's a dogfight every Friday night. What do you see from this conference, maybe your division in general, when it comes to what we can expect in the track this season?
Yeah, I think, similar to where it was last year, everybody, you talk about losing or rebuilding, but I mean, really it's just kind of retooling. And so the coaches in this conference are great. They know how to get the most out of their talent and their kids and whatever they have. And so, it's going to be a dogfight. I spent a lot of time down coaching this past year, this summer in the Shrine Bowl with LeMay over at Newman, and we hit it off pretty well. And so I tried as best as I could for him to give me some of his secrets, some secret sauce over there. But it's just one of those things that we just being able to be competitive. We're happy with being competitive right now. To get back to that point, and so I feel like we're going to be in positions late in games, and late in the season to win those games. And so happy to be there and just, playing meaningful games later on in the season is definitely our goal and where we want to be at.
I wanted to talk to you about the Shrine Bowl because it is such a great week. I know you were down there. LeMay was down there. Welch, Morrissey. I think Furlong was down there as well. Look at the air. I'm missing some, so I don't want to mess up. But our area has got some pretty good coaches. I know that you don't directly coach against the Western Big Six coaches at all, but what does it say about what we're doing in this area when it comes to high school football? Bunch of good dudes, bunch of good coaches as well.
Yeah, I mean, again, just turning out winners, right? Winners on and off the field, winners in life. And, you got people that know how to do it and do it at a high level. And so to be a part of that, to see that, to be able to network with, Coach Benedict and, a lot of those other coaches just throughout the state, down at Reeds down at Tolono on our staff and just learn ball and learn what they do and some different tricks of the trade definitely is definitely a great thing. But to come back to our area, to have, that number of coaches there representing that is definitely proud to be a part of that, and proud to hopefully, set the area ahead even that much more.
Absolutely. Before we let you go, some dumb questions, some fun questions besides football. And so the Shriners counts as that. What's the most fun you had this summer? What'd you do this summer that was the most fun outside of football?
Ooh, I don't know that, we went down to Disney, took the kids to Disney. And so there are a couple of roller coasters down there, kind of a thrill seeker, at my age now, I can't do the side to side, as much, but, definitely, enjoy some of those, thrill seeking, roller coasters was pretty awesome.
I love it. No, I'm the same way. I used to do any of them. And now it's like, I don't want to go upside down. I'm like, I'm good. If it's a wooden roller coaster, and I don't mind going fast and going up and down, but like anytime I get, I'm old. I'm much older than you are, but I'm getting old. So, if you weren't doing this, if you weren't coaching football, I'm going to throw athletic director and kind of teaching and all that kind of stuff in the same boat. If I'm not letting you do this, what would you be doing with your life right now?
Ooh, my son, my oldest son is going to be a freshman this year. And so we kind of talked a lot about, future and what he wants to try and be. And, myself, I would see myself probably in some like physical therapy or, something where still be around athletics, at the same time, feel like I'm, trying to help and influence people in a positive manner, positive way is definitely something that I think I'd still like to be a part of in some aspect.
I love it. Are you superstitious? And if so, what are your superstitions? Have you mellowed out as you get older, or are you still?
I have, yeah. You kind of early on, you definitely think that you're in control of a lot more of the things than you are, and so you have to, do certain things a certain way, and yeah, as you get older, as you have more and more kids, you learn that there are a lot more things outside of your control than you originally think. You're not the center of the universe, maybe as much as you thought you were, and so. Yeah.
What's a weird one from when you were younger? Do you have one from when you were like either a young head coach or even an athlete? Like, did you have something where I'm not like mine were just dumb, like not even sports wise. There's one time my mom still tells the story that she came into the living room and I was in pain on the floor watching an Iowa basketball game. And she's like, what's wrong? I'm like, my foot. And I had my foot, like TVs didn't used to be fancy on the wall. They used to be like on the floor and they'd have like handles. And I had my toe wrapped around the handle and Iowa was on like a 15-0 run. And I couldn't move my foot because Iowa was on a run. So I'm in pain. And she's like, that has nothing to do with what's going on in Iowa City. I'm like, well, back then I thought it did. So any young dumb ones when you were younger?
Oh man, you put me on the spot there. I mean, I'm sure I did, but big one was as a team when we were kind of making some playoff pushes, we'd all go over to, some guy's house and play Madden beforehand. It was like that stuff. You'd have to make the roster of the starters on your team, and of course you jack everybody to 7 feet tall and 300 pounds, and heck, I'm barely 5 foot, so that was always a goal to get to that point. But yeah, I mean, probably Madden, and trying to go along those lines.
Last one for you. I'm a foodie. I love to eat. If your family wants to go out to dinner, if you're going out to dinner, if you're taking your wife out, what's the favorite place or places to go eat if you're getting out for the night?
Oh, again, it kind of depends, like, who's in charge, who's doing it. But for me, my go-to, I'd go to Barrel House.
Okay.
And firecracker shrimp tacos. Get those every time. Those are fire. Those, definitely hit the spot for what I want to try and accomplish when I'm going out. Yep.
I love it. One more football one, obviously opener this week. What do you know about Princeton? Obviously a really good football team. You get them at home. Stockpile's got it as a W. But what Coach Pearson does is remarkable. He's got a fantastic program. Your expectations or your thoughts, I guess, on the opener on Friday?
I mean, we're between both of us, we're kind of expecting a, heavyweight fight in a phone booth here. What they've been able, and I know that they, had some great players that graduated, and they're going to be a little bit young, but again, they have high expectations. They do what they do very well. And so we have to be ready for the physicality that they're going to bring. We haven't played, even though they're in our conference, we haven't played them for probably about 6 years.
Wow.
And so, it's been a while since we played them, but, I still have some of those bruises from the last time that we did. And so definitely know and understand what we're going to get, and just have to be ready to match their physicality and take it to another level, and, be ready to take advantage of the situations when they present themselves.
We'll enjoy it on Friday. We'll be watching along. Of course, we'll have a bunch with it on the Instant Reacts on View from the West coming up on Friday. Coach, best of luck. Let's keep this thing going with Brian Stocking. We'll keep adding some things as well. And as you win, we win, because we can do fun stuff to Brian as well. Thank you, my friend. Best of luck this year. Always appreciate you.
Yep, you betcha. Thank you.
Awesome. That is Guy Dierikx joining us on Off Day with Matt Randazzo, and it's going to be a really fun season in the track. We talked about it yesterday with Jeremy Adolphson and Monmouth Roseville, but high expectations, and rightfully so. As long as he doesn't mess it up coaching-wise, I think the Riverdale Rams are going to be pretty good. We got more to get to. You're watching OTA on a Tuesday. We'll be right back.
Hello, Dan Pearson here of FCA. Our team is thrilled to support Off the Air with our good friend Matt Randazzo. We share the view of the power of sport when it comes to relationships, including the influence of the coach. FCA believes the coach is the most influential person in America. Matt celebrates local coaches and athletes. His content is informational, insightful, and inspirational. Our Fellowship of Christian Athlete team loves partnering with Off the Air with Matt Randazzo while we engage, equip, and empower coaches and athletes in our 23 counties. FCA, the heart and soul in sports.
View from the West, the podcast covering Illinois high school football.
It's going to be a hard-hitting game. It's going to be great football.
Weekly analysis and reaction from around the western side of the state of Illinois.
This is the game we had circled when the year started.
Follow along on YouTube and subscribe wherever you listen to podcasts.
It's big-time football out there tonight, and I know we can play big-time football.
View from the West. We got you covered.
Are you looking for the Quad City's best chips and salsa? There's only one dude to turn to.
Right on.
Snoop. Hand-cut chips, fried fresh with that crunch you've come to love. And the most addicting salsa with delicious fresh ingredients each and every time. Pick up your chips and salsa, queso, enchiladas, and much more at the Stern Center in Rock Island. To place your order, simply call the man himself. It's Snoop at 309-314-8197 and find out for yourself what the rest of the Quad Cities already loves. Welcome back to Off the Air with Matt Randazzo here on a Tuesday in the Quad Cities, Tuesday, August 18th. Thank you guys for spending your morning with us. I believe there's some funky stuff going on with X. So if you've been watching us on X and you're having trouble seeing the video box, it's there. You got to click the link, but I believe it's that way across X right now. But if you're watching X, YouTube, if you're watching us on the streaming app on WHO, we appreciate that. If you're listening to us on the podcasting platforms, thank you so much for doing that as well. It's been a busy, fun show here on OTA. We started things off with the one and only Scott Dochterman talking Iowa football, Illinois football as well. So thanks to Doc for spending some time with us. He gets to take a tiny little vacation. He's going to take some time off this week, and then his college football season is off and running. So check that out if you missed it. Also caught up with two really good dudes and really good football coaches, Galesburg Shawn Hickey, and then of course Guy Dierikx from Riverdale talking high school football. Things will start for sure, for good, for real, for real, on Friday night over in Illinois. It's week 0 in Iowa, not a ton of games. Week 1 for Iowa is the following Friday, but Assumption will be hosting Geneseo. We'll have our eyes on that one for sure as well. So if you missed yesterday's show, go check that out. If you missed our show from Friday, at Iowa Football Media Day. We had a blast. Seth Wallace, Pat Angerer, Caden Burr, who's in a kicking competition right now for the starting kicking spot. Addison Ostrega, both quarterbacks, Yossi Epinesa, Nolan DeLong, Gary Dolphin, and Kirk Ferentz. It's a pretty good show. So if you missed it, if you're an Iowa football fan, go check it out. Thousands of you guys have checked it out. We appreciate that. And if you have missed it, go check it out as well. Coming up on tomorrow's show, we're going to talk a little track football with our good friend Ty Taylor. We have our FCA story of the week and a whole bunch more. We're going to keep our eyes on those guys, those little leaguers that are in Williamsport. They play on Thursday. Trying to get a hold of them, get something lined up to have them on the show. We're working on that. Maybe that can happen tomorrow as well. So again, busy week. We'll be on the road on Friday. High school football's here. Football season is here. Busy times are here on Off the Air with Matt Randazzo. I want to thank you guys all for watching. Thank our sponsors for allowing us to do this each and every day. And we will see you guys back here for another episode of Off the Air with Matt Randazzo coming up tomorrow at 10 a.m. We'll see you then.